Hello everybody, this is Bitcoin Macro, and on this video guys I'm going to talk about Arweave. So Arweave is one of the top storage blockchains, probably the best one, at least I should say a project rather than a blockchain, and it's essentially what filecoin was meant to be. At least that's the story, the narrative that some people are pushing, and maybe they are correct, at least based on the stuff that I've heard about its design. It looks a little bit better to me, and of course as an investor I do prefer the low inflation that Arweave has. Also because of its smaller size and the potential to get listed on more exchanges, maybe it does a lot better than filecoin, which to be honest hasn't started to look very good more recently. So the main reason that I'm doing this video guys is the actual listing on Binance, and actually it's one of those coins that might get listed on Coinbase because it has had investors from Coinbase Ventures, at least they are their partners. It has had pretty big investors. So it might be one of those that does very, very well. It's something to keep in mind, like the investors do play a big role. And at the same time, of course, we're going to look at the chart, explain some stuff about the listing. Maybe some of the news that I bring, at least in the short term, are not the best, but I will try to protect some of you guys, or at least to help you educate yourself for these things happening in the future. So overall guys, I do want to provide you the best content, hype free. You know, if I do look at stuff that I like, I will push it, but then at sometimes I do believe it's probably beneficial for everyone to just have like more of a more sensible approach, because there's a lot of content, there are a lot of things that are going well. There have been lots of videos that I've shared that of coins that have done very, very well. But at the end of the day, you know, it's not just about hype and it's not just about profits. We need to protect the profits as well. So the first thing that I would say is that before the listing on Binance, Arweave was just listed on Huobi as a major exchange, then Bittrex and Gate were the second biggest ones, then some others as well like MXC, but overall it was just listed on very, very small exchanges. And this was one of the first really big listings that it has gotten, at least in quite some time. So more recently it hasn't really gotten any attention, and potentially this is what could spike the attention again to this project, because up until now it had been going up in a very nice trend, hype free, nothing really extreme. Like as you can see from here, this coin started trading back in May of 2020, or maybe a little earlier, because then CoinMarketCap might have not added the actual data, but it was just right at the time that the summer alt season had started. So it had a nice pump that was a bit rapid, then we had a big correction, full cycle like I usually say, all the way back to the level that it started. Then it started a nice uptrend, nice and slow. Wasn't really the best performer early on, it was doing okay, but nothing too important at that time. It had a nice pump initially once it bottomed, and then it started building this nice trend, nice and steady, like, you know, reclaiming every support level, reclaiming, like turning every resistance into support, and then slowly having that very, very big pump. Now the key problem here guys is that usually when we have such a pump it doesn't end well, and I'm going to explain very soon why. But for example, when we look at linear finance, Lina, it had that initial nice trend, then some consolidation, and then that mega spike, and since then it hasn't really recovered. It just came all the way back down, and it has been one of the biggest underperformers out there. So I would just urge everyone to be a little bit more careful when you're buying stuff that just got listed on Binance. Please avoid it, because this time around this one had a pretty big spike. Like at least from this low it actually pumped about 70% on the average. But let's have a look on how much it actually pumped on some of the other exchanges. So if I look at Huobi for example, if I just take it from this level right here, it had a 90% pump in less than 8 hours, or maybe about 8 hours I should say, because we have some extra on that candle right there. Currently it's retesting these key highs here. Like this broken resistance could potentially give a nice bounce for now, but I don't know if it would be something lasting, because whenever we have something so large, like nearly 80, 90, 100% pump, it's not something that tends to recover very, very quickly. Now on this chart, The beneficial thing is that, at least because of the listing on Huobi, maybe this turning into support is something that really helps the situation. Despite the very high volume, which usually signals a top, maybe this time around this trend will continue, and that was just a listing. It wasn't like an opportunity for some insiders to actually exit. So rather than exiting, maybe they do maybe they will play with some of the new hands, the weak hands. Maybe they try to shake them out, but it doesn't mean that they give up on the project. Because again, if a listing on Coinbase follows, remember, that could be even bigger. That could make it spike even higher. But the actual problem I have is, for example, when I look at the chart on Bittrex, at least again the Bitcoin chart, because I don't really know if there is any useful information on the other charts, at least USDT, it's now below the actual all-time high, and that is a little problematic to me. It is a little problematic because this is not looking like the best thing ever. Like, you know, when you're just getting trapped below the all-time high, that's not great. It's not great. Although there is this support over here, I would think that once we get that test, then if it doesn't pump very hard, like, it's probably going to have a problem. So maybe we get something like this, some chop, and then go higher. I don't believe that it's going to pump straight away, again, except if there are some major listings following very soon. So for next time, you know, if you're looking at these charts, remember guys, that when you see some sideways movement like this, that's always great. It's always great to have nice sideways movement, especially versus Bitcoin, and with certain highs being retested several times. The more times some highs are getting tested, the more likely it is that they will break out. So look at this as something more educational. It's not the best coin that you might think, you know, I'm just gonna buy it and I'm gonna get rich. However, I do believe that it's very valuable to give you guys some insights as to how some of these things work, because some people get hyped, like they see a new coin, they rush to buy, they don't understand what they're doing, and usually that's the opportunity for some people to sell, because a lot of people start buying into the pump. Many people know how important Binance is, so a lot of people rush to buy, plus all the newbies that have no idea of why, for example, those projects are not exactly new, because they just believe they're buying something brand new, whereas it's just something new on Binance, and that's a very big difference. So many of them get burned. I've heard of a lot of bad stories, and I actually know somebody who got burned on linear finance, like I mentioned earlier, and it's not fun, guys. It's not fun. So be careful when you're buying stuff that you don't actually understand. And again, that's why I try to provide educational content and not just hype. And that's what you should be chasing, guys. Anybody can tell you some coins that will pump. Literally, the only reason I haven't been spewing a lot of coins recently is because I'm trying to minimize the impact that this could have on some of you guys, because I know there are a lot of people who actually can't help themselves and they just go and rush and buy whatever some other people are talking about. And that's why I just try to go with more quality, even though I could go with some quantity. And that's why I've had some delays as well. So anyways, once again guys, thanks a lot for watching. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe and share the video. Also, you can follow me on Twitter, Telegram and TradingView for more quick updates. I'll start sharing more charts there as well. I've had a few things that have taken me back a little bit, but I'll be back full force with tons of content, a lot of educational stuff and lots of nice coins that will pump. So until next time, bye y'all.